So I started in 1990 and no debt, no money, and that meant slow growth. I just didn't know any better. I didn't know what I didn't know. I just wanted to start a company. So I watched others over the years, over the first 3 years, I watched others come in and they had new trucks, big box trucks, all this equipment. I was told one of them had like a computerized system in their truck, and that was like a big deal, early 90s, and more advanced tools, all this kind of stuff. And I'm driving my used Ford Ranger with no air conditioning. And honestly, I got down. I got depressed sometimes. Like, I'm growing too slow. What do I do? So I had an option. Do I go into debt? Do I buy new trucks? Do I do this stuff? Or do I just keep doing what I'm doing? Working hard, taking care of customers, taking care of people, slow, healthy growth. That's what I chose to do. So hundreds, if not thousands of companies have come in over the last 30 years, and they're gone. They're history. We're still here. Okay, so evidently I made a good choice. Delayed gratification. That's what I chose. Hey, this is Greg McAfee, and welcome to the Greg McAfee Show. Now let's get started. Okay, welcome back to the Greg McAfee Show, where we discuss steps to successful entrepreneurship, how to take your business to that next level, and ultimately follow your dreams. Today we're going to be talking about delayed gratification, and the title of this is Why Waiting Wins. Unlocking the secret to long-term happiness. And that's what I've done. I'm just going to share some things as to why I delayed gratification. And number one is I set clear milestones. You see, when you break your long-term goals into smaller, achievable milestones to celebrate progress and stay motivated without abandoning the big picture. You see, true vision in business is what we don't see visually, but we see in our mind. That's true vision. And we've got to break those long-term goals. I've told you this before. The first few years in business, my only goal was to do what? Survive. Okay? But I did have some goals, and I had to break those goals into smaller, achievable milestones to stay motivated, to not be depressed about slow growth, to just continue to do what I'm doing. So I had to break those goals into smaller goals, which kept me motivated, which kept me driven, which kept me going. And number two, focus on the vision. I had to focus on the vision. I had to keep the ultimate purpose and vision in front of me and center. I used to write stuff down all the time. I wish I had everything. I still do have a handful of stuff that I wrote down, and I still do have my first deposit into my checking account, which was $274. But I had to keep it in front and center, reminding me why my delayed gratification was essential to building a sustainable business, one that could survive and eventually thrive. And like I said, you don't have vision with your eyes. You see it in your mind. You see it. I looked back in my backyard of this little ranch, our first house, that was kind of in a commercial area, so it worked really well for me. But I could look in the backyard and I could see the garage I was going to build. That was the big deal for me right then. That was a milestone to get built. But I looked back there and there was no garage, and I could see it in my mind. We had to have a garage. We had to have a place to work. My little ranch wasn't big enough, and I didn't have any money to go rent a space or anything like that. I didn't even know what I would do with it if I did. So I was 26 years old. So number three, I learned to celebrate small wins. I acknowledged and rewarded myself for incremental successes to balance the need for immediate satisfaction with long-term growth. Now, how did we celebrate back then? Good and bad. We don't drink. We don't party. My wife and I. First 4 years, we didn't have kids in our marriage. So we went out to eat. Didn't always go out to the best places to eat, but at the time, it was our best places to afford to eat. Didn't help. The more success I had did not help with my waistline. Get it? I've lost 100 pounds here in the last year. So I'm sure I was carrying some of those successes in the first 5 years where celebration, big sale meant out to eat. And a big sale was a full system installed. Okay. So today we still celebrate small wins. My sales team texts the sales group. We have a little group on a text group. And we've got like 4 rewards. You've got like if you were to sell, let's say a HEPA shield, we carry those HEPA Shield 600s. But if you were to sell a HEPA filter system, they're somewhere between $8,000 and $12,000. You get a good. We type back good. If you sell a hot water heater and something else, you get great. If you sell a full system, you get awesome. Now, if you sell a full system with what we call our Omega plan, which is full-blown warranty, you get awesome with the clapping of hands, okay? We still celebrate small wins. Every sale matters. Every celebration matters. I like to keep people pumped up. I love it when they're sending several a day. That's a good problem to have, to respond to each one of those. That's a good problem. All right, number 4, stay disciplined with your finances. Boy, I've talked about this several times. Avoid unnecessary spending by prioritizing reinvestment into the business. 100% of my profits went back into my business for multiple years, probably more than 2 decades. I was not concerned. I took the delayed gratification road on that too. I was not concerned about buying anything. We lived in that little 800 square foot ranch for 11 years. And then we bought a property and we delayed gratification for 3 or 4 years. We talked the developer, the owner of the development, into letting us buy that property and not build for 3 or 4 years when you were supposed to build within the first year. Delayed gratification. And ensuring that all your resources are allocated toward growth and stability, and avoid unhealthy debt. And unhealthy debt to me is debt I can't pay back. Healthy debt is debt that I can, if I take on a certain amount and I get into a jam, I can pay it off. That's healthy debt to me. And I've said this before, there are many, many, many people who work leverage debt better than me. I'm not a leverage debt kind of guy. Multi-millions in sales, multi-millions of this building here, all this stuff, it's all paid off. 0 debt. Some people would never do that. They'd leverage that debt and they'd have it structured a different way and they'd make from their interest and all that stuff, and that's fine. But I always go with the sleep factor. I sleep extremely well at night. And personally, I don't like to give the banker all my stuff, okay? All my financials. I hate that. That's a personal thing, all right? So stay disciplined with your finances. Number 5, surround yourself with accountability. Boy, that's a good one. Connect with mentors or like-minded business people, especially within our industry, that they get it, they understand, who can provide guidance, encouragement, and a reminder of the rewards of patience. Remember, this is about delayed gratification. Nothing comes easy, folks. Nothing comes easy. Nothing has ever come easy in my life. Nothing has come. Recently, I just had some deal fall through. It was set up. It was a done deal, and it fell through. And I said, I vented for less than a day, probably 4 hours. I just vented. How could this happen? Blah, 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 blah. And now I'm moving on, and better things are coming ahead. Okay? That's just how I operate. John Maxwell says, the guru of leadership, John Maxwell says, you have so many days to celebrate and you have so many days to pout. Okay? And that does not include a death or anything like that. That's just dinner. That's a deal falling through. You got so much time to deal with it, and no pun, and pout about it and vent. I call it vent. I just need to vent, get it off my chest, move on. I'm not going to dwell on it. It's not going to do me any good to dwell on it. I can't change a darn thing about it. Okay, so but nothing comes easy. And we need others holding us accountable because we are just not that good alone. You may think you're good, but you're just not that good. I know I'm not. I'm extremely weak alone. I need to surround myself with strong people, and that might include my wife. My wife is I call her the prayer warrior of the family. I am weak without my wife. I am weak without my friends. I am weak without my team, my leadership team. I am weak. They know a lot more stuff than I do. I'm the only one on my leadership team without a college education, which is kind of funny. But they're extremely smart. They get it. So we're not that good. And when we realize that and humble ourselves a little bit, we'll actually start growing. All right, number 6, and there's 7, so we're getting down to the end here. Prioritize self-care. Well, it's a good one. Manage delayed gratification is easier when your physical and mental well-being are strong. Okay? So take care of yourself so you can remain focused and resilient. If you're not taking care of yourself mentally, if you're not reading and continuing to learn and study and think, strategic thinking, all those types of things, you're going to become weak. And if you read or watch or whatever in the wrong things, the bad habits, the negative addictions, it's going to take you down. They actually, I've been in men's classes before where experts have shown the brain on cocaine, and then they showed the brain on pornography. And there's not much difference in the look. It eats away your brain. Both of them eat away your brain. All right? I don't need anything else eating away on my brain, okay? Because I know I'm just not that good. All right, so when you manage, when you prioritize self-care, you take care of yourself. You look good. You look as good as you can. You dress as good as you can. You're the owner of the company. You better look a step above everybody else. They need to look up to you. They need to respect you. You might think you can get by with certain things, but honestly, that next taking care of yourself and looking better does everybody good. Step up your game in how you look. Handle yourself better. Come in early, earlier than everybody else. Well, I say that, but I don't know if that's necessary anymore. It is good. It's a good gesture. I know I did it for years. The smaller you are, the easier it is. Today we might even have 2 shifts, so you can't even do that anymore. I've got people that start here at 6 a.m. So I'm normally here by then, but I'm not racing anybody to get here. But what I'm saying is think differently. Set the stage. Be the leader. Step up your game. Handle yourself better. And in every other area. Make sure your truck's clean, your car's clean, your vehicle's clean, your office is clean, organized, all that stuff. Set the pace for success. Yeah, I know some people that don't and are extremely successful and do multi hundreds of millions of dollars. But that doesn't mean they couldn't do more if they were different. and set the pace higher, set the bar higher. Think about it. Okay, lastly, I've got visualize future success. So regularly envision the rewards of your hard work. You got to see it, guys, folks. You got to see it. This mental picture can fuel your determination to stay on track despite bumps in the road and despite temptations. We all have temptations. We all have temptations to do things different. We all have temptations to stray off the path. We all have temptations to buy something we can't afford, all those types of things. And as far as it goes biblically and spiritually, temptations are not sins. They're only sins if we give in to them. And then they become sins. And then they could actually become a habit, an addiction. So be careful. We all need to be careful. Remember, we're not that good. We're not that strong. A lot of us listening to this, yeah, we have discipline, we have determination, but not in everything. There's always a weakness somewhere. There's always a crack somewhere in that wall. And we have to be careful. I know I have to be careful. I'm constantly trying to be careful because it's too easy to fall into temptation and give into it. Okay? So get this. Those who delay gratification understand that true success is built over time. It's not a race. And the rewards are worth more when earned with patience. It's a journey. It's not a race. It's a journey. I'm going on 35 years now in business. It's been a journey. It's never been a race. Did I happen to get to number one in our industry? Yes, but I wasn't racing toward it. I knew I always just wanted to be higher quality than everyone else. I didn't like the status quo of HVAC and plumbers and electricians. I didn't like that look. I didn't like that reputation. I wanted something better, higher. When you walk into our building, it's top-notch. Looks like a medical facility. It's extremely clean and organized. That's the image I want. Across the board. From the building, from my truck, from me, from our technicians to our employees, to our office. We have business casual. If you want to, on Fridays, if you want to donate $5 to our foundation for children, then you can wear jeans. And that's on Fridays. So it's fun. For $5, people pay it. They like to wear jeans. But we have an image. We wear logoed shirts. We wear uniforms, certain color shoes, certain kind of hat. Must wear a belt. Shirt better be tucked in. Must wear a t-shirt if you're going to button that button down a little bit. All those things matter. It's your business. You run it the way you want. But it is very important to set higher quality. And what's that have to do with delayed gratification? A lot. You're delaying gratification because you know if you continue doing these things well, it will pay off. It's not a race. I don't have to take... I do today because I can. But years ago, I don't have to take a whole lot of money out of my company and buy something. I'll buy something later. There's a lot of examples of that, but put your example in there, okay? So here's the 7 things. Set clear milestones. Focus on the vision. Celebrate small wins. Stay disciplined with your finances. Surround yourself with accountability and smarter people than you. Like I said, my leadership team all have college degrees. All my leadership team have master's degrees, except one. And prioritize self-care. Very important. You don't want to leave that one out. And lastly, visualize future success. It matters. I told you I looked in my backyard. I sat on the street looking at a lot where I was going to build the building that I was in before this. I looked out my window. I was actually off. Here's the deal, real quick. My office window, I'm pointing this way because that's where the building was that I built in 1997. And it was 11,000 square foot building. We took 3,500, leased out the front. I came from a garage, 24 by 24 garage. But I would look out my window. There was a pond on the other side. And I'd look out my window and I'd stare at that building next to me. And I'd say, it was big. You know, it was 30 to 40,000 square feet. And I'd say, one day I'm going to own that building. Well, I was off a little bit. It wasn't the south building. It was the north building. I'm in the north building right now. It's 30,000 square feet. I sold all my other buildings to be in this building, put everything under one roof. Boom. Paid it off. Okay? So, but I had a vision. I was just off a little bit from south building to the north building from me. I was off a little bit. Okay? I'm normally off a little bit anyway. All right, so those are the 7 things, very important. Why waiting wins. Unlocking the secret to long-term happiness and success. Okay? So before we wrap up, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe below. You can also support this podcast by rating and reviewing on iTunes or your preferred listening platform. Keep listening. I'll do my best to keep challenging you. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Greg McAfee Show. No spaces, no underscores. Thanks for listening. As always, carry on. God bless. Make this day the best day of your life because we're not promised tomorrow. I'll see you later.